The Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. I don't want to do it alone, so if you want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps with SEO and ranking and all this other stuff, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. But let's just dive into the review. This book is very strange. The author begins by explaining the power of the word inevitable, and he says that these things will hatch similar results over and over and over again, these 12 technological forces. And he explains that they are a unified field of motion. So let's go over each one before we go over what each one is. They are becoming, cognifying, flowing, screening, accessing, sharing, filtering, remixing, interacting, tracking, questioning, and beginning. Becoming is probably my favorite, where the author talks about how nouns are turning into verbs. Or, I guess, gerunds, if you will. A shoe will turn into shoeing. A knife will turn into knifing. And how this even happens, the author talks about that in the book. The second force is cognifying, which explores the idea of artificial intelligence and cognitive intelligence kind of blending into each other. Robots will be able to think critically about things, and that itself is a becoming. The third force is flowing, where everything is going up and down so fast, so beyond our control that everything needs to happen now, and everything has to flow. The next episode, the next song, the next video has to play immediately. The other person has to respond immediately. The app, the file, the book, they have to download immediately. This is the book that taught me that there is no unit of measurement for emotion. And that is one of the scariest things to me. That is probably one of thousands of things that keep me up at night. It also taught me what unified direction we're taking ourselves in. I don't know what's more important than that in today's world. There's a phenomenal chapter as the fourth force, which is screening. The author has a story vividly describing a day in, I think it was some year around 2030. And he does it in a way where how different it is stressed so subtly. Like, it really says, okay, I know about this stuff, but I'm also a really good writer, so let me just flex for a moment here. The fifth force, and by the way, I love this whole force thing. When I go over lists like these that are presented in books, there's usually laws or chapters or principles or something boring like that. But forces is just it's very sci-fi, and I just love it. The fifth force is accessing, and the general notion here is that every product is turning into access itself. The author brings up points like the rising of dematerialization, which is, getting more use out of less material. And the fact that subscriptions and stuff, that's replacing the act of buying straight up songs or movies. Because think of it, Facebook itself publishes no news. Airbnb itself owns no property. Uber itself owns no cars. And Alibaba itself owns no inventory, at least at the writing of this book. The sixth force is sharing, and this one does kind of explore distribution and the disintegration of friction that gets in between finishing something and showing it to everyone, which involves using things like Facebook and Wikipedia and Reddit. When you give the power to the people and let them do what they want, this is what it actually has the potential to result in. Under the right regulations. I think that's a good word for it. If you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend smashing that like button if you haven't already, but I also recommend, on top of that, checking out the book What Would Google Do by Jeff Jarvis. The seventh force is filtering, and this one kind of touches upon filter bubbles, where if you look up one thing, everything is filtered to the point where after that you see nothing but that thing. Until, of course, you look up something else. The eighth force is remixing, where remixing becomes such a regularity that it comes to a point where it's like, okay, how much of this remix do you own? With music, for example, you can't own a note. The music industry cannot seem to keep up with things like this. The music industry and so many other industries. The ninth force is interacting, and there's a lot of virtual and augmented reality talk here, how it works and how it's evolving as well, and how real it's becoming. The 10th force is tracking. And this is really something to pay attention to. Like, everything is going to be tracked. Everything ever. If cops can tape citizens, then citizens can tape cops. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is fucking transparency. Like, we are talking about transparency versus like privacy. And I don't know about you, but the idea of like losing privacy, because sometimes I feel like it doesn't even exist anymore. You know what I mean? That's a huge reason I used to hate social media. And I'm still not really the biggest fan of using it. But books like this help me sorta tinker with my perspective on that. The 11th force is probably the scariest, in my opinion, is questioning, because it highlights the paradox of humanity's growing uncertainty toward the future, saying how we are all on the internet, wondering all the time we spend hours and hours and days and weeks talking to people, writing comments and videos and posts, and we are all wondering one thing. We're doing all of this and we're wondering one thing. What is it? The 12th force is beginning, and all of these things are becoming the first force, a beginning itself. The 12th force, and it all starts over and over again as a new thing, turning into the old thing, and the old thing becomes the new thing. And these different forces all seem to flow into each other. Again, this book is very strange because it's trying to express something that's close to inexpressible. And the author, Kevin Kelly, the co-founder of Wired magazine, he takes a quite compelling crack at it. Now, the people who wrote negative Audible reviews, they seemed to have been expecting something more robust and technical. But what about the title of this book, or the cover of it states that, okay, this is full of technical knowledge? Is that to say that this book isn't useful? I don't think so. I mean, this book is like a 30,000 foot view. But if you ask me, most people nowadays don't really have even a 300,000 foot view of stuff like this. I'm not saying people are dumb, but a lot of the time, most of us are buying things that we don't even know that we want in the first place. And if we do, we don't know why we want them. The problem is that we underestimate our stupidity, and a lot of companies tends to underestimate our intelligence. But that's a totally different video topic. Like, this book doesn't really say where everything will be, but it definitely tells us where everything is going. He's not creating the future for us. He's not even predicting it. He's just saying, look, this is the clearest thing that we know as the direction, not the destination. And he gives so many examples. Everyone who said it was boring couldn't exactly explain why. So I don't know. That's my review of the negative reviews. Quotes. Only by working with these technologies can we get the best of what they have to offer. Marketers call that situation stickiness because the customers are stuck, invested in this generative asset, and will be reluctant to switch and start over. You can't cut and paste this kind of depth. You might think of this new medium as books we watch or television we read. The world is made of stories, not atoms. No one is smarter than everyone. In a world of abundance, the only scarcity is human attention. The funny thing about technology that enhances a whole class of experience and personalization is that it puts great pressure on us to know who we are. What can be more intimate and interactive than wearing something that responds to us? We are particularly susceptible to bias when we are hurting or desperate. A lack of responsibility unleashes the worst in us. A shift in a trillion is not a change of quantity, it's a change of essence. We are living in a world where the improbable is the new normal. The best minds of my generation are thinking of how to get people to click on ads. Direction 1. I recommend this book if you are scared of where technology is going. But I also recommend this book if you are curious about where technology is going. Direction 2. If you like this book, I recommend checking out The Black Swan by Nassim Nicholas Taleb if you can get past his arrogance, which a lot of people called in the negative reviews that I talked about in my review of the book. But that book is about the impact of the highly improbable things that happen in our world. I also recommend checking out Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark, about being human in the age of artificial intelligence. And that book paints such a vivid illustration of what all the different futures of mankind could look like for us. It gives you a lot of clarity and perspective on things. And that book really helped me to kind of see it as like, you know, it is actually okay to be alive when technology is going where it's going. Life 3.0 is like, guys, there's hope. Believe me. What I want to do with this channel is that everywhere in the US, at least today, you will see and feel and breathe technology and business. But our ability to cope with where those things are going, we can't seem to keep up with it. And if we are not able to know ourselves well enough, we will be controlled by it. And the consequences of that are just I mean, if that's not already happening, that's probably what wakes me up in the morning. But there's a link in the description if you haven't checked out this book. There's a link to that and all the other videos that I mentioned in this review. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. And also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't know why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. And if you could turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I do. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.